Hello everyone, my name is Andrew, today we continue learning IT, and today we'll talk about the best extension for Visual Studio Code. I've been working with that extension for 5 or 6 months, and I'm telling you, you can't code without it. So let's just start.
Alright, so here is the Visual Studio Code, and what is that extension? That extension is called GitHub Copilot. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about it before, but why is it so cool? And why is it the best extension in my opinion? Imagine that you need to write some code. Whenever you put any character in Visual Studio Code or in any other ID, you have something called IntelliSense. So IntelliSense allows you to autocomplete your code. For example, we have a cosinus or a cosh. I don't know how to say it, but it is imported from CMS. So as you can see, I only wrote A, and for example, you can use any. So it's just like code autocompletion. And GitHub Copilot is much better than that, because GitHub Copilot does not just autocomplete your code because you have that function in your language, because you have a sort, a sync, a wait in your Python language. It autocompletes your code with real algorithms. So imagine that you need to write Fibonacci sequence numbers. So define fib. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know what is that, but even if you don't, you can already see that my GitHub Copilot showed me the whole algorithm. So I only wrote define fib, and then I can just press tab and see the whole algorithm here. So that works. If you don't know how to count Fibonacci numbers, that works. But still, what's cool is that GitHub Copilot automatically completed my code. I did not write anything in here. I can do that with every algorithm. For example, quick sort. But if I can do it like that, quick sort, then I put A as a list, and here you have it, quick sort. Simple algorithm. You can change something if you want to, and that is the power of GitHub Copilot. So it allows you to write simple or not that simple algorithms without ever needing to write your own code. That's really cool. And it does not only work with Python, it works with JavaScript, TypeScript. In that case, we are going to use TypeScript. For example, I can use, function, and let's see what function get data. So it doesn't work perfectly because it's still in technical preview, but still function get data, maybe we need to use function get data. So GitHub Copilot basically uses your code in order to create algorithms and write code for you. For example, what if in index TypeScript you have something called interface? If you don't know TypeScript or don't know interfaces, then it's not a problem. But if we have interface IUser, as GitHub Copilot suggests, we're going to have name as a string, we're going to have age as number, and let's add ID as string, or ID as a number in our case, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we have a user, and that interface allows us to basically create our users. So now, what GitHub Copilot will do? We will just simply Google algorithms from the GitHub, from the internet? No. The best thing about that extension is that it allows you to not just get algorithms from the internet, from the web. It allows you to, or it analyzes your code and allows you to really get the algorithms that suit you. For example, we have my user here. If I go somewhere here and I will create a function called get user, as you can see, we already provided ID because ID was here. And even if that GitHub Copilot did not suggest me to bring my ID, he will still use it. So it literally analyzes your code in order to bring you the best algorithm. As you can see, we return IUser and we return some object in JavaScript. That is the power of GitHub Copilot. And that is really, really cool. Of course, that function is not perfect and we will maybe need to change something in here. But what you can do is even provide docstrings for your functions. For example, let's go to Python again, and if you know docstring or comment, for example, create a function that takes a list of numbers and returns a list of their squares. For example, as you can see, GitHub Copilot did it himself, and I can see define square list and return squares. So simply our function does what we told it to do in that comment. We get a list of squares or we get a list and return a list of squares. Very, very simple. So that is the power of GitHub Copilot. even if you don't like the algorithm. For example, I don't like the algorithm of my Fibonacci sequence. Why is that? Because we use recursion here, and it's not that good for our programs. Yeah, it's better for people because we can understand how it works, what it does, but it's not that good for programs for computers. And it's better to use simple loops in that case. So what we can do, if I don't like the algorithm, I can just remove it, put a docstring or a comment and say, create a list of Fibonacci sequence. Here you have it. Well, no, that's not the algorithm. Create, let's write create and return list of Fibonacci sequence. That's the algorithm. So as you can see, we have a lot of stuff here. If, yeah, that algorithm works perfectly fine. Oh no, it still uses recursion, but we can choose from different algorithms if I press Ctrl Enter. And yeah, you can see here they have different solutions, but yeah, you can have a lot of stuff in here, so you just need to download that extension and play with it. But I don't want to explain everything that that extension can do. Basically, it allows you to write your code easily because you don't need to write a lot of stuff that you wrote before. Because we have an extension that analyzes our code and brings up the best answer, which may suit you. But there are still some problems with that extension. So the first one is that it's still in technical preview. So you can't just download it from the website and yeah, work with it. What you're gonna do is, I think, send an email or connect your GitHub to some website, and it will allow you to use that extension. It's totally official, so it was created by Microsoft, by GitHub, and OpenAI, I think. So yeah, you can just use it. But it's still in technical preview, so you're gonna have to wait until that extension can be used in your Visual Studio Code. That is the first problem. The second problem, it's not that big of a deal right now, but it may be for some people that it's only available in Visual Studio Code, as far as I'm concerned. So you can't use it in PyCharm, in IntelliJ IDEA, or in some other programs that you can write your code in. But yeah, you can just use Visual Studio Code. It's a great code editor, so you can just use that. The next problem is directly related to the GitHub Copilot itself, because sometimes when I code in JavaScript, especially in JavaScript, I have never seen that in Python. Maybe because my main idea for Python is still PyCharm, but sometimes when I code in JavaScript, what I have is something like that. So I have a function that is not yet closed, so I don't have my curly brace right here, and I can just press tab, and GitHub Copilot will add that, then it will add some comments. So that is not ideal because I don't want those things to be in my code, but it's still in technical preview, so that can be justified, because when they will roll out a real program, so a real production version, then yeah, it's going to be better. But still, it's not that often, and the only thing is that sometimes it can give you the wrong characters that you don't want to. But it's not that big of a problem for most of the cases. And the last problem is not related to the GitHub Copilot directly, it's more related to the programmers, because if you just want to be a programmer to write code and do nothing else, then you're not going to succeed in the future, of course, because right now we have algorithms that allow you to write any code that you want. For example, let's write a code that, create a list of first 10 cubes. Yeah, very simple. So I can basically write whatever I want. It just auto-completes my stuff. Of course, I'm going to need to refactor it and all that stuff, but we are still in 2022. Imagine what will be in 2025 or in 2030. So we are going to have a new era of programming, and you can't just be a successful programmer with just writing code. You need to know some other stuff. So don't limit yourself to just one language. Don't limit yourself to 10 languages. 10 languages can be replaced. So if you know how to write code in 10 languages, you can still be replaced, because yeah, you have GitHub Copilot and it works with Java, with C#, with C++, I think, with Python, with JavaScript, with TypeScript, with Ruby, with Go, with all the main languages. And that's not the way to go. What I suggest you to do is learn something else. So don't limit yourself to only one language, to only one thing. Learn how to automate stuff, learn how to, I don't know, do something else in IT. Learn databases, learn cache systems, learn anything that you want. Don't limit yourself to one thing. Anything that you want. Automation, virtualization, databases, data storages, clouds, whatever you want. Whatever you want. Linux, but I think every programmer should know Linux by now, but there are lots of stuff, or there are tons of topics that you can learn, and it will be beneficial for you rather than learning one language and being a professional in that language, because in the future you're going to be replaced if you just know how to write code. Of course, if you're like the best out of all, yeah, you're going to be irrelevant, but you need to learn something else. And if you just know how to write code and do nothing else, I'm sorry, but you're going to be replaced. And that's just the truth. But thank you for watching. My name is Andrew. Subscribe to my channel, download that epic extension, and bye bye.